order arrived here today. And, well, you really should have seen her. Her hair was a hot mess. And I had brushed it out before I remembered I said I was going to take a video. So I'll just insert a picture of what that head looked like. It was like me before the blow dryer. And this poor chick needs a date with Mr. Magic Eraser. But other than that and the loose limbs, there's no stains on her body. She's a nice Pleasant Company doll. And I got her for an okay price. And I'm fairly pleased. I'm really thinking this wig, she's going to need a new wig at some point. And I've got some options. I might just put plugs in this wig. It's not real hard to get this hair from the beauty supply store. Or I could just completely re-wig her with a different texture hair. So I've got some thoughts about that. I think I mentioned before in the other video about Kit that it's not possible for me to send her to the doll hospital. First of all, because it would cost more than getting a new wig. But mostly because when they don't re-wig a doll, they give you a new head. And so she will no longer have this Pleasant Company face. And she, won't have, well, basically she won't be the same doll. And it would have been pointless for me to get her if I send her in and she comes back with the Be Forever head. That's not going to work out too well for me. So the options are for me to take care of what I'm going to do with this hair. So let's go ahead and get her scrubbed up. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because I decided to do a little something else to Addie's hair. Now, I did do the wiping down. She looks very clean. I couldn't find my magic eraser, but I think I did a pretty decent scrub job. So whatever powder was, on her neck and stuff, when she got here is all done. Wiped her body down and fixed her limbs. So I want to talk about her hair again. And I know this is a little bit of a sensitive topic, so I'm going to try to be as tactful as possible. Now, Addie is obviously African American, or black, as I like to say, because it's shorter than saying African American. And African American implies that your racial or ethnic background is strictly African. And then, of course, you're born in America, so you're American. Which technically may or may not be true of all African Americans, because it's possible to have other ethnic backgrounds or racial backgrounds mixed in. When you say you're black, you're saying that you have a descendancy from African parents, but you may not be necessarily just African. So if somebody came directly from Africa and they were here, they're African American. But if you've, been in the cultures where Africans were enslaved or in mixed racial backgrounds, then it's possible that you are more than just African. So I like to use the term black because I know for a fact that my specific family is not just African. We have Caucasian or your European relatives. And so I can get into that, but I just want to say it real quick. So she's supposed to be black. Now we get into the situation where I've watched other videos and read blogs about Addie's hair. And there are some black people who are upset about the comments they have heard about Addie's hair. And also, I've heard some of those comments myself, And I've seen people who are in a rush to straighten Addie's hair. And so I just want to say this. Addie's hair texture is supposed to be indicative of black hair texture. So it's not going to be like Felicity's hair. It's not going to be like Kit's hair. It's not going to be like the other dolls who are portrayed as some type of European culture. Black hair is just not like that. And I've also read that the hair for the dolls, Addie in particular, is, I have to remember how to say it, Canelocon, I think is how it's said. Canecolon. Anyway, it's spelled like that. Canecolon. So phonetically, if you type that into the computer, it'll give you the right word. So whatever the pronunciation is. At any rate, as a black person, I have done all kind of things to my hair. I have used synthetic hair and braids, and I'm familiar with that product. And that product really closely resembles my natural hair texture. So Eddie's hair texture closely resembles my natural hair texture. So there are black people who get upset when they read some of the comments about Eddie's hair, because it's almost like someone is saying black hair is not good. And that's like a whole other topic, not for this channel. So at any rate, Eddie's hair can be a sensitive situation. And so my initial thoughts, and not because of her hair texture, because this is a texture I'm very familiar with working with. But if anything, Eddie has better hair than I do. You should try working with my natural hair texture. At any rate, she's got some bald spots here. So I thought to myself, I have some options. I could actually just go down to the black hair store and get the Canecolon and replace these spots. It takes almost nothing. Or I could get a new Eddie wig, which is actually a little harder to get if you're not sticking the head into the American Girl doll store, which I'm not about to do. Or I could re-wig her with a texture that is similar, or a straighter texture, which would be easier to deal with. And so I had considered that too, because if you understand, lots of black people permanently straighten their hair or use hair pieces and such, because black hair is a texture that is hard to deal with. So it's not a terrible thing. And I'm not quite sure why black people get offended if people from other ethnicities and races decide that Eddie's hair is a little hard to deal with, because we do it to our own hair. But I decided that I'm not going to re-wig her. And there are two reasons. First of all, because it's not my head and I don't have to deal with it, such a volume of hair, or on a daily basis like I would my own hair. So I can handle this. Secondly, because the reason why I'm even doing this is for historical accuracy. So this would be historically accurate. There are some straightening methods back in those times, but they haven't quite done the hot comb thing. So her hair would be her natural texture. And that's just the way it is. And whatever styles that I am going to do are not impossible to do with her natural hair texture. I have a Pinterest board of African Americans in the 18 and 1900s, and you get a really good look of what their hairstyles were in those times. And basically, there are quite a few afros, and there are twists and buns that are done up in the styles of those days without pressed hair. So this is not a problem. I guess my third reason is I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time rolling curlers in doll hair, really. I just don't. So there's really no reason for me to re-wig her so I can achieve those styles. No, for the, I'd say the early 1800s, where there are a lot of those side curls for Regency and things like that. For those particular dolls, whichever doll I use for that one, probably Samantha or Felicity, I will just do a little bit of rolling there, but I really don't think I'm going to do that much for Addie. Everything else I can do to her without having to do all that. So there's really no reason for me to re-wig her other than I would just like to fill in some of these places. And I can do that simply. Now, this is something I'm going to say, and I can't necessarily say that you should do this, but, well, this hair is so old, so, well, whatever. What you can do, what you might want to do, what you might be able to do, depends on how you feel, is that at the hair care stores, especially the black hair care stores that sell synthetic hair, or pretty much any, hair in general, you can get a spray. There's a braid sheen spray and there's a wig spray. And like I said, because this is that same hair that you get at the stores, I'm fairly certain that it will work on Addie's hair, or actually any of your doll's hair, because it's all that modado, what's it called? Acrylic. Anyway, so it's a polymer bond of 2 for the acrylic. It's a synthetic hairspray. It should work. So what I did is I sprayed Eddie's hair with the wig spray. That's why it looks all glittery. And it's going to make it easier to comb through. Okay. And it will give it a sheen. Bam, not a problem. And of course I'm using a wig brush. So there's the thing about Eddie's hair. Everything is all set. Now that Eddie is all clean and I've dealt with her hair and we've had that sensitive discussion, it's now time for me to make Eddie a shift. Everybody's got their shifts on, and that's going to be the first step for all of the dolls. From the 1700s to the 1800s. And you know what? I'm going to look it up and see when the cutoff actually starts. The shift was the only underwear that they had on. They didn't have any split drawers or pantaloons, really. So for Felicity, I'm not going to make any pantaloons. And then everybody else from Addie all the way down are all going to have pantaloons, and Addie will have the split drawers because that will be accurate for her. And probably I'll make a pair for Kirsten when she gets there. I have to look at Josefina and see where she's at in this, because she is in a Spanish culture. So I'm not really sure. We haven't gotten there yet. Alrighty, everybody, that is it for Addie. And as I mentioned, this is my replacement to the Be Forever Addie doll. And I will talk about these other ladies in the back later.